I'm live, presented by State Farm. Chris Miles, Sam Mitchell, and Caron Butler here. The Milwaukee Bucks with another huge win over the Detroit Pistons by 16 points. Giannis Antetokounmpo, one of 7 Bucks in double figures. We know he's an MVP candidate. Led the charge, but didn't lead the team in scoring. Sam, great to have you back. We spent the entire last season together. Good to have you back for the first time in the playoffs this year, my friend.
Happy to be back, man. There's some exciting basketball going on right now with my man, Caron Butler.
My dude.
Hey, the original hairstyle is back.
Yeah, I took it down, man, because you came back, man.
Hey, you gave me hope when I saw that hairstyle.
All right, fellas, let's look at the historic magnitude of this win for the Milwaukee Bucks. So they're up 3-0 in this series. They've won every game by double digits. The 16-point victory, the actual smallest margin of victory for the Bucks in this series. But for Detroit, it's their 13th straight playoff loss dating back to 2008, and it now ties those New York Knicks from the 2001 to 2012 with the most consecutive playoff losses. Not exactly where you want to be if you're Detroit.
Well, it's tough for Detroit, man. Look, first of all, give Blake Griffin a huge shout-out, man. He came out there and played on one leg tonight, tried to help will this team to a win. But right now, it's just an uphill battle, man. They just don't have the horses to compete with Milwaukee. And you think about something. When the MVP candidate and Giannis is not the leading scorer, and you have 7 guys in double-figure scoring for the Milwaukee Bucks, it's just too much to overcome for the Pistons. And again, Blake Griffin deserves a lot of credit for going out, showing a lot of heart, going out playing and being the best player for Detroit tonight on one leg. But again, they just don't have enough to compete with this Milwaukee team. Look, Milwaukee is one of these teams we expect to see them not just in the conference finals, but probably in the NBA finals.
You say Blake Griffin, he missed the first 2 games of this series, took 24 shots, played 30 minutes, scored 27 points, looked effective, but Caron, in that second half, he didn't look healthy.
Yeah, I think that he did an excellent job of what Coach touched on, was trying to come out there and just impose his will on the ball game and have that sense of urgency, because he's a guy that's been battle-tested, played in a ton of playoff games, and, as a former teammate, I know that meant a lot to Blake to be out there from a leadership standpoint, and that's the reason why he was brought there, to get them over the hump so they can return back to the playoffs. But when you look at the matchup and what the Milwaukee Bucks bring to the table, as you touched on, Giannis, Greek Freak, on that short list when you talk about the MVP discussion, him and James Harden, it's really tough, man. I don't see them even probably getting a gentleman's sweep out this situation. So best case scenario for the foreseeable future is to probably rest Blake Griffin.
The Bucks scored 120 or more in the first 2 games of this series, 119 tonight. It just seems like it's easy for them in the first round. Sam, how dangerous is this team? Playing without Malcolm Brogdon, who's a 50-40-90 guy this year.
Well, Caron said something in the back when we was talking about this Milwaukee team. You got Giannis, who is A-plus player, a superstar. But then you look at Milwaukee team, a lot of B and B-plus guys. And when you start thinking about it, if you take Giannis away, they got guys who can shoot the basketball. They got guys who can dribble to the hole. They got guys who can facilitate, get their own shots. This is a deep Milwaukee team with a lot of veterans. But the thing I like about them is not the old veterans. These guys are right in their prime. When you look at Lopez and Bledsoe and Middleton, they're right there in their prime. They know how to play. They know how to win. And then when you throw Giannis in the mix, and then you throw in Coach Budenholzer, who has a lot of experience from San Antonio, and then what he did in Atlanta and now in Milwaukee, this team is hard to beat, man, because you just can't identify 1 or 2 guys to try to stop. They can just come at you in so many different ways. And tonight, again, the MVP candidate, or maybe the MVP of the league, wasn't the leading scorer, and they still win by 19 points.
That's what's so amazing about them, to echo Coach's point. They do it by committee. They do a remarkable job of scoring the basketball on the perimeter, inside when Giannis is working the seams. Don't have to necessarily score all the time. And then on the opposing end, you know what? They take those matchups extremely personal, and they strap up. Top 5 in the association in the regular season. Look like they're trending in that direction as well right now. So it's amazing just to watch that production night in and night out from those guys.
Well, Nikola Mirotic is a guy that played 14 minutes, scored 12 points. We know he's coming back from his hand injury. And Brook Lopez, 8 for 13 from the field, 3 for 7 from three-point range, 19 points. Let's hear from him. So there's two teams in the East with a 3-0 series lead following the first 3 games in the first round. Milwaukee Bucks over the Detroit Pistons, and the Boston Celtics now have a 3-0 lead over the Pacers. They can complete the sweep with a win tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So let's look ahead. That would be the second round series between these two teams. How do you like that matchup between possibly the Celtics and the Bucks?
I like Milwaukee, man. You look at their size. Look, we don't even talk about Brook Lopez, but I've coached Brook Lopez before when the Brooklyn team was in New Jersey. He is an excellent basketball player. And you look at his improvement from a low post scorer to now a guy can still score in the post and now stretch out and shoot the 3 and put the ball on the floor. People forget how skilled Brook Lopez really is. And then this is another thing, Caron. He don't miss games. Brook Lopez shows up night in and night out. And so when you look at this Milwaukee team, and he said it, the depth that they have, and they're focused, man, because they really believe, Caron, you've been on teams that really believe they can win a championship. And when you really have that belief, it's hard to stop you. You got to come out. Somebody got to beat them. And right now, looking at the East, who can do it? Because they've really dominated the East for the entire season.
I love the fact that when Brook Lopez was with the Los Angeles Lakers the year prior, and people just said his versatility and what he's capable of doing, people forget, from his time with the Brooklyn Nets. And fast forward to now, he's the second, third best player on your team, which that's exactly where he needs to be. And he's able to go out to the perimeter because he's so versatile. He's able to knock down shots, not just be a shot taker, but a shot maker. And then you have the versatility of Chris Middleton. You have Giannis. You have Eric Bledsoe, Malcolm Brogdon coming back at some point. All these guys that shooters that complement one another, and they do it by committee and bought into the system on the offensive end on the floor, thanks to Coach Bud, and also on the defensive end on the floor, thanks to Coach Bud. So it's just amazing to watch. They're really trending in the right direction. This is a fun team. I'm looking forward to that matchup in the next round, if we can say that already, for the foreseeable future with them and possibly the Boston Celtics.
Caron, think about this. The worst shooter of those guys we mentioned is the MVP candidate, Giannis. Now think about that.
That's crazy.
No, you're right.
Now that's
for
what
3
people
from
don't
three-point
understand.
range, and they made 14 threes.
He's not the best shooter on the team, and he's the MVP candidate of the league. So what does that tell you how special this Milwaukee team has a chance to be?
Well, let's look on the other side of that. Detroit Pistons, congrats to them for making the playoffs. We know it hasn't been a good series, a good round for them. But looking at this roster, how can they improve it next year? When you look at Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, that's working. But they need to take it to another level, this roster.
Man, they're going to have to find the right free agent. Look, they're not going to get Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, one of those guys. So first, they got to find the right free agent to come in and bring something, some energy, some toughness, some defense, some perimeter shooting. Then they got to get lucky in the draft. Because they made the playoffs, they're going to be drafting after 15. They got to do their homework, and you got to go find something guy that's out there in the draft that's going to be better than what everyone else thought he could be and develop that guy. Because Detroit right now is not one of those destination free agent teams. They're not going to acquire the big-name free agents, so they're going to have to do it through the draft, and they're going to be drafting low in the draft, and then they're going to have to get lucky with some free agents that are not big-name guys, but they got to find the right guy to spend their money on, and then they got to continue to build. Andre Drummond got to continue to grow and get better as a player. Blake Griffin, because those two guys with their contracts, you got to build around those two players.
I think Detroit always been an organization that built through the draft or via trade during the course of the season. So they're going to have to find a way to get, which Coach touched on, the B-list guys, the C-list guys, or guys like that.
Well, speaking of which, Mike Budenholzer, the leader of this Milwaukee Bucks team, is at the podium now.
The thing that stands out to me, just the steadiness and kind of the will for, the majority of the game. I thought Detroit came out, played really well the first quarter, firstly 5, 7, 8 minutes. We just kind of stuck with what we do. Different guys making plays, different guys stepping up. And we're able to kind of manage that storm and actually have a lead at the end of the first quarter and then just maintain our focus and our effort really for the whole game. And lots of different people stepping up and playing well. George off the bench. I just think Bled's defense and Bled's energy, Brooke, Chris, all those guys, just a really good overall team performance tonight.
Fintel's Detroit Free Press. You were talking about Brook Lopez before the game. I saw in your pregame comments. Just speak about what makes him so tough for other centers to go up against, because he's Andre Drummond's had trouble with him in the past.
Well, I mean, the way he is just, he's not your conventional big. He's going to, play around the perimeter a lot. His spacing is great. his ability to make threes. And then, teams are trying to take that away, putting smaller guys on him, bigger guys, and now he's taking it off the dribble, finishing in the paint, getting all the way and finishing at the rim. And then, in the pick and roll game, I think we're just on him to, roll more and finish more in the paint, and he just keeps getting better and better at that, and our guys are getting better finding him. He's just he's a really skilled guy at the end of the day, and, he helps us a ton.
But throughout this whole series, we've always talked about, a bench player having a big one in game 1, game 2. It just felt like Ersan, those 3 threes in the first quarter really kind of steadied you.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's probably part of the opening. That they threw a big punch. I thought they played really well out of the gate, and Ersan comes in and hits the 3 threes in the first quarter. I think, that was a big kind of stretch in the game where, we didn't go into the first quarter down or finish the first quarter down, and Ersan felt good. Ersan played well. He and George off the bench I thought were really great. So, but those threes were huge.
What can it mean for you guys on a night where Giannis wasn't otherworldly? He still put up some numbers, but he wasn't at his peak. Just that you guys were able to still win by double digits and be in control for a lot of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something we've been trying to build all year. Is we're a team that plays together. We're try and take what the defense gives us. Guys have opportunities. Guys have a lot of confidence to make plays. It's not just all about Giannis, as amazing and great as he is. So, if and when we need more from other people, and I think it's a credit to Giannis to I think let his teammates carry him some nights, carry him some stretches, and I think he just loves this group. He loves playing with the guys. He loves to see them succeed, and it's I think a credit to him and a credit to the guys around him.
But shortly after Giannis got his 4th foul in the third quarter, it looked like you went over and talked to him a little bit. What was your message to him at that point?
Yeah, it was actually a little bit more just about some coverages that we were in and just considering maybe changing a look, and how did he feel about it, and just making sure he and I are on the same page, and then he could help Ersan and talk about what we wanted to do differently. It wasn't that exciting.
Bud.
Yep.
Hi. A couple of times over the course of the season, we've talked about how in the playoffs, kind of every X factor matters. Everyone has a certain baseline of talent, but there are little things that can separate the good from the great. And I'm wondering where you think your guys' professionalism and ability to just have this intense focus ranks in terms of things that help push you to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we've been discussing. It's been a theme in film, and can we maintain that focus? Can we maintain, I guess professionalism, if that's the word you want to use. That competitive spirit is what we talk about for the entire game, and it's not easy. You got to do it longer than your opponent, and I would give our guys credit, but we still have another game. We've got to maintain that over the next day or two. Take a break tonight, get a meal, and at some point fill your cup back up and get ready for Game 4.
But it probably helps that he hit his first shot, but feel like Nico got into a little better flow tonight than he has in the previous 2 games? Yeah, clearly Nico's best game. Hit several shots. I think just his confidence, the way he was moving out there. It's his 3rd game. It's, Nico, we all want it to happen quickly, but if you're realistic, it's hard not to play for 3 or 4 weeks and just instantaneously come back in a playoff atmosphere, playoff type intensity. So tonight it was good to see him, feel like he's kind of back there a little bit, but he's got to keep working tomorrow, work the next day, and, just keep taking advantage of his opportunities.
I know you guys haven't needed a whole lot of it, but just how big can it be when Chris and Eric can go out and just get their own buckets? It's a one-on-one play, and they're able to get a bucket.
Yeah, no, that's the kind of the fine line or the balance we've tried to walk. We've got some guys that have individual talent, can go get a basket on their own, and hopefully we're balancing that with moving the ball and playing unselfishly and trying to create other actions or situations. And I feel like the team and Chris and Giannis and Eric and everybody's in a good place of balancing those things out. But there's no doubt at points you need somebody to go get the basket, and we have a lot of guys actually that can do that.
You guys have played the Pistons so far this year 7 times, and 6 times you've won by double digits. When you look at the matchup between your team and the Pistons, is it the matchups that really create a situation where you're able to win seemingly so easily on a regular basis?
No, I mean, I think we've played well. I know we came in here one time off of a loss during the regular season, and watching that film, our focus was great. We talked about our focus earlier. It's, we're not a kind of matchup team. I think we just try and do what we're doing each night. We've had some success. We need to get one more. We respect these guys. Blake, comes out and gets 27. He played great. Drummond's a handful. So I don't think this is a matchup anything really, to be honest. All right, thanks.